1st of March, I'm looking for a wander over to the plot. So far it doesn't look horrendous. The odd little polytunnel looks damaged there. Can't see any sheds there. I'm saying that there is a shed here that's kind of collapsed, and you can see, but or it's not been built properly. It's a little bit boggy, but there's no big pools of water yet. So, God knows what I'm going to find when I get to mine. It looks like someone's sort of shelter thing has capsized a bit. But, my shed's still up, right? See it over in the distance over there, which is always a good sign. So I'll just have to see. It's come from someone's shed somewhere. Looks like someone's put a polytunnel up. It's a new neighbour, this. Put the polytunnel up and it's been ripped down. I'll just have to see. Yeah, this is what my fence was like last time I came. Now I sort of semi-propped it up, but that hoop's down. Cauliflowers over there are blown. I knew they would. Should have got down really, but never mind. Fruit cages got a bit of a lean on. I'm not liking that. I'll see what we can deal with. If my gate will open. Barely. Yeah, I'll have to prop my whole fruit cage up. If I can get in. It's punctured over that fruit. So I'll stand the old tripod up and I'll have a look. I need to get in there today. So I'll just get this temporary prop back up. I've no tools with me or anything. Trying to prop that somewhere. See, I've got a hammer in my shed. Just sort of try and temporary prop it. It needs to push back that way and also over that way. Maybe some of these caves for a jazz my eye out. Yeah, it needs to go over that way as well. I need to get some big posts really. Whack them in and try and screw, anchor the corners the best I can. I didn't really want to be having to deal with this corner until sort of once the blueberries have finished, sort of address this. Don't know what the purple Sprite and broccoli is like over there. I did support them last year, but that's what I like. I'll get a camera and have a look around the plot. So it's a bit of a sorry state, but it is what it is. I must have left the net up last time, because one of my net sides is actually still up. Oh well. Unless if somebody's been on. Load of stuff blown behind my shed. Clear that up after. One of them today. No real harvests. Just come for a look and assess the damage. Yeah, I mean these are. I could probably salvage that one there, but I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to rip it out. Saving old broccoli, all these beds, I'm going to just pull everything out now. And then, so I don't want to be walking about this too much, because I mean, it's like just pure underwater. Not deep, but it'll need, this won't drain away for ages. The more you walk on it, the more squidgy it'll be. I need to strip my asparagus off. But these were like the Tundra, January King. I still like probably sluggering inside some of them, but I might get the odd one. So I get these beds emptied. Give them a chance for any little weeds to sprout as well then before I plant up, and I can give them a final hole before I plant stuff up. Nothing's going to be planted up here yet for a good 7 or 8 weeks anyway. I need to re-edge this big potato bed really, but that manure's not really rotted down, but I'll probably have to just dig the trenches this year and just let that rot down over the summertime. So we'll get on with some bits anyway. So I'm not going to do much, just in case of clearing up. So I probably won't video that. I'll probably just put video on once I've finished clearing up at the end of the day when I've had enough. I'm not down here for long. I've only got some secateurs with me. And a pair of gloves really, that's all I've got. Right, we'll crack on. I spent a bit longer than I wanted to down here. I've not measured up yet for the fence. I was hoping for a bit of peace, but that alarm over there has been going off for about 2 hours. So I've been here a good few hours anyway. So had a bit of a prune at the blueberries. Not gone mad with them this year, just taking out some of the dead wood, some diseased bits, and I'll sort of shape them up next season. Try and get them a bit smaller again, just to try and encourage that one. I want to try and keep them, all under about 4 foot high if I can. But the purple Sprite and broccoli, I've kind of straightened it up because some of it toppled over like that one there. There is some, little, you'll be able to see it on there, it's starting. There's a couple somewhere. So we're down in there. So come down in a couple of weeks and have a pick. So I say I've not done it for years. There's a lot of little florets that are starting there as well, so it's just something to pick up. I've had a bit of a ham weed in here as well. Oh, going out of focus. There. I'll look at the rest of the plot. I've pulled all stalks, I've bought brassicas, I've just put all the stalks on there because I put them in a compost bin, they'll never rot down for a long time. So should I get around to doing this raised bed at this end, I'll dump all them in the bottom, they can rot down in there. Same with like my old sweet corn plants are underneath this sheet here, and some sunflower stems I've just lobbed down the side there because it's no fun sort of slopping about in this lot. Asparagus tops are all taken off, they're pretty much all still in that side, but I don't know what to happen with them yet, I have no idea. Put my sheet back down on the potato bed. All these beds, nets are off. Cleared them all, give them a rake. Left the hoops on. I could do with taking these off and sort of refixing them at some point, but they're not doing any harm at the moment. So I've raked them up, so I'll just give a bit of a sort of few weeks now. Things can, well, hopefully dry off a little bit. Each time I come down, I'll just knock the top about with a rake, like I've done with that one. I've not raked that one, I just sorted the sheet out over there. But all in all, quite a productive day. Everything's kind of looking a bit more plot-like and a bit more under control. Apart from that, it's an absolute mess, but we'll deal with that another day. Got a few cabbages. That's the January King, so is that one at the end. These other ones are Tundra. So a few slug holes, but I'll take them home, and looks like we're on cabbage for a bit, and Kane can have some as well. So I'll get cleared up and measured up, and then head back home and get on with some pricking out and whatnot over the next few days. Back home in the polytunnel. It's actually a few days after now. It's about I think it's the 8th of March today. So I've been doing some pricking out. I did a bit yesterday, but it run out of light a bit. It was a nice day yesterday. I thought, well, there's a lot of brassicas to do. So I just saved a couple to finish off, which is just the Durham early spring greens. I've got loads to sow today. So there's all the tomatoes, lettuce, beetroot, spring onions, all that sort of stuff, and some potatoes in pots, which I'll be testing out one of the B&Q composts. Everything that's being pricked out and sown today is actually done in B&Q's Verve multi-purpose compost. It's a peat-free version, and all I've put is just vermiculite in it. That's all that's in it. There's no other things in it, just vermiculite. Some people might find it's a little bit twiggy and chunky, but just sieve it and it's fine. And whatever you don't put through a sieve, keep. You can either apply it as a mulch to things, or put it in a bag and it'll rot down even more. But honestly, the bigger plants, when they get bigger, they won't mind it at all. So you can sort of remix it back into some, even any spent compost. Right, so we'll get on. We'll prick a couple of these out. So I can't remember when I sold these. It was in my last video, I think. This. So we'll just prick them out. It's just a case using this little dibber or a pencil, whatever you want, and coax it out with some of the roots. That's all. These are just little tiny pots. I got these from Asda years ago. I mean, they're starting to fall apart now, these, but the pots are great. Same size pots, that I've got my chilies in, and my peppers, which I still need to prick the other ones out, to be honest. It's just been tricky getting the time to do everything, and the space, because it's still quite a mess in this polytunnel. I mean, this is just currently sat on top of my box of my garlic in at the moment, which has finally all come through. It was a bit slow, actually, my garlic, but it's all through now. So, like I say, you can pick your you know, your bigger seedlings, but everything catches up, to be honest. You know, because I've got a few more re-sowings to do because I haven't got quite enough cauliflower and I haven't got quite enough broccoli. So I've sown some broccoli already. I did that yesterday, but I've got the cauliflower. I haven't got any more Clapton, so I'm doing another variety. I've got about 4 Clapton seeds, but I'll just do some of the other ones. I've dipped all, you know, you can bury it a bit further down, you know, because it will be planted out when it's planted out originally, you know, when it actually goes in its final place. These are the seed leaves, these first 2 leaves, and they will eventually die off and be of no use. I usually snip them off after a while, before planting out, because I have to put drinking straws on my stems, because I have problems with leather jackets at my plot, and if I don't do that, they tend to shear them off. So if you're like me and you go to your plot and you find some of your plants sheared off at the stem, laying flat on the deck, it's probably leather jackets. There is another thing called cutworms as well, but there's other things that can kind of do that. But I could take the gamble and put them in, they might be okay, but I think, well, you know, when you've done all this, you think it's not worth the risk, because once you put the drinking straw around, they never bother it, and it's got a chance to get woody enough, and then as it expands, it'll push the straw open. If I can remember, I'll put a link to a video in the description about how I do the drinking straws. Save me doing it all again, because it's a long time off yet. You know, it's probably like 4 or 5 weeks, but it'll be actually planted down to its first true leaves. You know, so there'll be probably another inch above this, and then you have the first true leaf. So the root does go quite a bit down, a few inches down. So just nestled in. You can bottom water them, but for the first sort of wetting in at this point, I like to give it a top water, just to make sure everything's settled around the root. If they go a bit limp, don't worry. Usually within 24 hours, they'll perk back up. You know, and they might be leaning a bit and things like that, but they will all sort of straighten themselves up. It's just a natural thing, you know, unless if you're on a windowsill still, and they'll naturally lean to the light. But these are staying outside full time now, and all I do is, if it's going to be cold, they are pretty hardy because they're in the polytunnel, but I'll cover them with a fleece. But if you haven't got anything to put, you know, your plants under cover, just hold fire still, you know, because you've got to make sure you're aware of when the frosts are about. So I'll just move these out of the way, because that's all them Durham earlies I grow as a spring green or a leafy green, the cane. You know, and I probably won't keep all these because I could probably do this tray at some point. Because I've still got some other lettuce that I'm holding fire on to prick out. But everything else, we'll have a look at all the seedlings in the next video. I'll generally, you know, because some of these will be up, and we'll have a look around at all my seedlings, how everything's doing. So it'll be a complete update of everything before the next stage sort of thing. Right, so I think we'll start off with spring onions, because it's a bit easier that. So I've got, this was a 40 cell tray that's been cut in half, probably 2 halves of different trays, but, you know, because I don't want 40 spring onions, 20 is a bit too many sometimes, you know. Beetroot, don't need that many because only me who eats it in the house. So I'm going to just pre-dampen this a little bit. Not much, because I'm going to probably bottom soak these. It's just to basically, so when I push the actual hole, put the seeds in, it will stay down. So I'll try and do this video as sort of quick as I can, but there is a lot to do, you know, because sometimes the videos, they are a bit long, you know, but it's trying to get everything up. So, you know, if you guys haven't done it already, you can get cracking if you're unsure, you know, because there's other YouTubers that have done things a bit earlier. I'm actually a bit later than what I normally am, to be honest, but that's because last year it was a bit cold. What I'll do, I'll leave them to sort of drain down for a minute, because what I'll do is all my other trays, just these strips again, they're all filled up ready and pressed down, probably, you know, 5 mil. I'm going to give all these a soak now. Give them a right good watering, because these will not actually get watered again. I tend to find when I water these and I sow the seeds, they never get watered again, because, you know, they sort of like 2-3 weeks you're pricking out, and there's enough water in there if you keep the propagator lid on. But just be careful if it's sort of in direct sunlight, you know, with the propagator lid on, it can still get really hot. So you just got to be careful with your seedlings, you know, because they need the warmth, but they don't want too much of it. And this really is the world's slowest watering can. But as usual, I put my bottled water in. Well, it's like just a normal 2 litre bottle with a little watering rose on the head. I'll put it down somewhere like usual, and I can't remember where I put it. It's like I'm looking for a big tray to do everything on. I've got one behind here, but I've got a big green one somewhere, and I can't seem to find it. It's not exactly a small thing. So don't be frightened to give them a good watering now. You know, obviously if your compost is damp when you put it in anyway, you know, you've got to sort of assess the situation. You know, if it's quite damp anyway, you probably won't need anything. You know, because too much water can rot off, and obviously if it's outside and you get a frost, it'll freeze solid. And that's one of the biggest killers of plants, is when the roots get frozen solid. The tops can recover to a degree. It's that little growing tip, but the growing tip's usually semi-protected by the outer leaves. You know, because a lot of plants, you might not be aware, but they sort of lay the foliage down in the day, and then they kind of lift up right at night. That's just basically to, you know, because it needs a rest. You know, like we all do. You know, if you were walking 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it wouldn't be very good for you. It wouldn't be long until you'd drop. So they need a rest, you know, to take up all the water at night, and then all nutrients, and then in the day they absorb the sunshine, which then sort of feeds the root system in the plant, because it needs that photosynthesis to grow. A few more trays here. One of these I don't have to water because it's already got seeds in. That's the Aquiles. So I had a surprise package the other day. I don't know who it was from. I'm assuming it's from one of the subscribers. A couple of Sharpie pens and 2 packs of these yellow plastic plant labels, and a packet of Iceburg seeds, which I'm going to sell today. I don't know what variety of Iceburg they are, but because Iceburg for me, it tends to always get problems with slugs in it. So I only tend to do a few and see how they go. I think the best one I've grown so far was one called Barcelona. That seemed okay. But we'll pop a few in, you know, because you can sort of sow them successionally. You know, probably every 4 weeks, sow a few. I'll let all them sort of do the thing while I get on with the spring onions and whatnot. Spring onions, you know, I've got some white Lisbon, but I've got some seeds, Ishikura they're called. I've grown them for the last few years, to be honest, and they're fine. I mean, the white Lisbons are good, you know, to bulb up a bit at the bottom. But these are already open, so they're both saying so by December 24, so they should be okay. So for spring onions in that and beetroot, don't really need that special. I tend to use your finger because I sow them in little clusters. You can sow them single or in a line if you want, but simply, you know, get your finger and just put a little indentation, you know, 5 to 10 mil in the middle. It's that time of year, I don't know if you can hear, but the old jackdaws are hanging around. They were down before because I put some food out for them and they were down. So they're probably shouting they want a bit more because they're getting ready to start the old nest building. I'll do them ones first. So the idea is try and get clumps of, you know, five or so in there, but you know, sometimes you get 3, sometimes you get 10, so just a little pinch. Ideally you want your fingers really dry for this. Oh, we got there. So don't worry too much about them, like, you know, overlapping each other. They'll find their own way. That's the beauty of things like onions, is as they're growing they will push themselves apart. You know, and if you were going to grow these sort of successionally, I'd probably say, depending on how many you're doing and how much you're eating, but I'd probably say every 3 to 4 weeks. I tend to sow 20, and then once I begin to sort of week or two before I can see they're ready to harvest, that's when I'll sow the next batch. Because I don't mind going a few weeks without, because it gives you a chance to eat some of the other stuff. And that's a good time to try another variety. See how the first batch went. Try a second batch, and just compare. You know, same again with spring onions, like onions and leeks. The seeds are little tough things. They can take, you know, up to 3 weeks to come through. It's a lot down to, you know, moisture, because they do like a bit of moisture to get them, you know, to actually initially swell. You can thin these out if you want, but like I say, they don't matter if you've got 8 in a clump, they will push themselves apart. Plant them sort of, I don't know, 6 to 8 inches apart when they go out. So I'll sieve them in a minute. So I'll just find my beetroot. Never grown this one before. I haven't got any Bolt Hardy. I usually grow Bolt Hardy. I grew another variety last year. I'm not sure what they were called, but they were white inside. They were great for actually pickling and that, because you didn't get all the red fingers. Now, beetroot you can sow on their own or in little clusters. So I'll probably do them in little clumps of probably 3, I think. You know, these want to go a little bit deeper. Yeah, it was nice to get the package the other day with everything in, so whoever you are, big thank you. Very much appreciated. Right. Like I say, you know, you don't have to worry about, you know, being exactly like 1 or 2 or 3, just get a few and just drop them in. So as you've seen already, I've been to the plot. I've not been back down yet. So it's going to be a push to get everything done. You know, because everything's sort of sown now, so my window is growing shorter all the time, and even though I'm not working now and sort of caring, I'm still really busy with, you know, the free time I have. Obviously with the band. I went fishing the other day as well. You know, a bit of pike fishing, and I'm going again tomorrow. I have to make a conscious effort this year to do more fishing. But yeah, the music and everything, it's great, you know, I love it, you know, but it's not forever. And it's a bit tiring when you come home from a gig. By the time you've unloaded and that, it's about 2 o'clock in the morning. Right, so we'll got a bit of compost, same stuff that's actually in there. Probably get it everywhere, but doesn't matter. I just fill them up. I mean, it already has been sort of pre-sieved through, sort of like an 8mm sort of sieve. This is even finer. I think this is like probably 4mm, 4 or 5mm, this one. Make sure I've got plenty on there, and then I can sweep the rest around then. Making sure they're all full. I'll give it a little water from the top as well, but I'll have a feel after, and cause I tend to go off weight. You know, if something feels like it's got a bit of water in it, then that's good enough for me. It's a difficult thing to figure out watering. I think it's just experience and trial and error. As long as it's not, you don't want it soaking wet. Sort of wrung out sponge will do, because obviously this will, soak right down to the bottom and just through like capillary action, it'll moisten all the compost around it. When you put the lid on it, it'll humidify it so the moisture can't escape. If you soak it too much, you can get like the top baking hard, and it's quite difficult for a little seedling to come through. You notice it more when you're doing things like beans and that, because you end up, you've watered it all in. And peas are the same, you end up with big flaps of compost coming up. So sometimes it's better to base water and just let natural capillary soak up through the top. I better get some labels in them before I forget. Beetroot over there, pre-wrote them out, so I'm a little bit organised. And spring onions. So I'll just put a propagator lid over them after, and then they go on the windowsill. They will be okay out here, provided the weather's okay, but I'll put them on the windowsill. I'll probably give them like a week or 2 weeks on the windowsill, because obviously all the brassicas are out here now, so I've got a windowsill free. I'm trying to do everything on a windowsill, which is it's a bit tight. A quick mouthful of my brew. I'm going to try and keep it tidy-ish, but it'll never work out, right? Right, so what we got next? We've got a full seed tray. I'm doing plenty of tomatoes this year, so I don't even know if I've got enough seed trays filled up. We shall see. Right, what I'm going to probably do, some of them I might do, because I've got some here that they're quite old seeds, so I'll probably do half and half. So I've got Gardener's Delight. So I'm going to sow more than what I need. A rule of thumb, I like to sow a complete backup crop. So when I bring them out, should a frost come, I've got some that are held back inside still. Because I have lost them all before. A late frost in May when you least expect it. So it's a case if you've really got to, sort of be on the ball with it a bit. I'll take these out of here, because I don't want to fill the actual tray with compost. There. Right, so, don't know how many I'm going to sow. I'm just going to generally scatter them around, because I'll probably need about 4 if that of these. There's plenty enough in there. And you can just cover that with just pure vermiculite if you want. But we'll give it a little bit of a covering with this. Just enough so you can't see the seed. Most is probably, 3 mil on top of that. Give a light tap down. Very brief watering. Like so. Label. That's the Gardener's Delight. It is good when you come to do all the sowing and that, because everything's sort of starting to begin. You come out of the horrible winter slumber, and then things get going. Right, Alicanti. This seed packet's open, so hopefully it's still viable. Sort of scatter them on. Because it's not that. I mean, I suppose it's handy if you sort of, friendly with someone who's growing stuff, is you can say, well, I'll sow your tomatoes and that, and they can sow your brassicas for you. and then when they're at plant stage, you exchange them then. You know, under the right conditions, tomato plants can be up within like 3 or 4 days. You know, but general rule of thumb, if they're not up within 2 weeks, start having a little look, just in case. You may have overwatered them slightly. If you think you've overwatered, just sit them on something that can absorb it, a towel or anything like that, just to pull as much moisture out as you can. Leave the lid off, you know, indoors. You know, you can actually stand a fan by them, so they'll blow, which will help to actually evaporate some of the water. Obviously, as the top dries, it'll keep trying to wick up from underneath. That's Alicanti. Next we'll do Moneymaker. There's a trowel for this, really. Give me a box of tricks down here. I really do need to sort out the Moneymaker. I wasn't going to grow Moneymaker this year, but I thought, well, I've kind of grown it most years, to be honest. So I thought it's no harm in having a couple, because it does always produce, and it's not the best tomato. So I used to sow them nice and neat in little rows, but you just sowing a good few. You can use little individual pots if you want, little like 3-inch pots, and sow about 6 seeds on top. Because I always sow more than what I need. You never know if everything's going to germinate, so you've got to just make sure that you're covered. But like I've done before, you can always pre-water everything and just leave it a couple of days to drain through. Moneymaker, and the label for that. Once you get into the swing of it, it doesn't take long, Surprising how many plants and seeds and that you can sow in a very little time. Right, so what have we got next? Some Marzano. Plum tomato. Usually like one of the last to start cropping. But, great for sauces because they're quite fleshy. So I've got to keep reducing it down all the time. Because I like to make the sauce fairly thick. I do have a video on how I make the sauce. I know like bolognese sauce, you don't really put garlic in it and stuff, but I just make a general tomato, carrot, celery, onion, garlic, basil and things like that. And then freeze it. And just tamping it down, all that does it, just make sure you've got good contact. you can always add a little bit more water, but if you go too much, it's difficult to take it away then. San Marzano. Sungold. One of the pretty early ones, Sungold, to be honest. For some reason, quite a bendy plant. Don't know why. Got an open pack and a sealed pack, but supposedly still in date. I shouldn't imagine there'll be loads of seeds because they're F1s. We'll see how many there is. I can get them out. They always get tucked into a corner. Luckily, I've got another pack. But it's well sealed up, this one. Well, there it is. Blue for them. Label there ready. Check this compost out of the way. Try and tidy up as we go. Yeah, because like tomato seeds will gladly germinate, just sat on top of damp compost, to be honest. A bit like when you saw things like petunias and all the tiny seeds. I've done celery like that before, just straight on top. Sungold. Right, let's see what we've got here. So, move some seed packets out of the way that I don't need. And right, what have we got left here tomato-wise? I'll split this tray in half now, I think. Got some Shirley. I've grown Shirley a few times. Like Shirley and Isle of Craig, you know, they do okay. But Shirley can, sometimes you have to sort of support the vine a little bit because it can get a bit hefty. And then the other half, I've got some of my own seed. Last year I grew, I managed to get one to fire, so I hope the seeds are okay. And that was a subarctic plenty I grew in a pot, and I saved my own seed. So the original seeds were from a 2017 tomato, and these are from last year's. There's something quite satisfying about you've grown it from a seed, harvested it, enjoyed the bulk of it, but then you've saved a few to create your own seed. Subarctic Plenty is a determinate variety. So you don't have to grow it like a vine. You can do if you want, but it'll sort itself out in like a little bush form. I think it was originally sort of created for growing in places like Greenland for the military and things like that. So it can handle the cooler weather. It's not the best flavour tomato or anything, but it's just, you know, it's relatively problem free. So it's a good one for people who are just starting out. I mean, it's not blight resistant or anything. A bit of a watering. And then subarctic plenty and Shirley. Right, so Shirley's with this end, subarctics from about there on. Let's end them. A couple of other ones. Let's see what else we got. Roma. Roma and Black Russian. I always used to think Roma was a cherry tomato. It's actually a little plum tomato. Because I used to grow what's called cherry Roma. They're like little grapes. Stacks of seeds in here. Just all stuck down the bottom. Right. Be for that. And then, oh, I've got Tigerella. These were like a gift I got. It was Christmas 2020, I think it was. I thought I'll give them a whirl. I'll probably only grow like, you know, one of these, one or two, just to see what they're like. To watch them seed packs because they're liable to ping open. Right, so I'll cover that up. So this compost is pretty wet now because it's been scraped about on the top. Just want to cover it a bit like that. And just tap that other stuff around. Like so. A bit of water. And label. We've got Roma and Tigerella. Tigerella's up and Roma's this end. And I've got one more, which will be another double one. So we've got Black Russian. So both of these are like beefsteak, really, I think. Black Russian's a little beefsteak thing. And the other one's Marmande, which is another beefsteak. I used to grow that super Marmande, which can grow as a determinate. It's not like indeterminate where you have to grow up a vine. There aren't many seeds in this, so I won't be sowing many of these. Say they're a couple of years old, these seeds. So whether they come to anything or not is another thing. Remember, right, there's like loads of little packs of seeds and nice little gift, to be honest, and you got a little booklet with it. You know, provided they're not F1s or anything, even if you only get, you know, a couple that fire, you can save your own seed. You know, if you've enjoyed them. Usually, if you're taking seed, I prefer, you know, seed taken from, if you've managed to grow a couple. You just have to watch out for, obviously, for cross-pollination, because tomatoes can cross-pollinate. So if you're going to take seed, it's always best off from either if you've cross-pollinated it yourself or the very first blooms at the bottom. There's less chance of a mix. If you've watched it like a hawk, you should be okay. There used to be a chap on YouTube called Halvor from Norway. He used to do all the cross-pollination stuff. He used to do a lot with that Cherokee Purple, I think it was called. Black Russian. Marmande. Like I say, I'm pretty satisfied that I won't really have to water these again. I think it's a general, that's all the tomatoes done now. Hopefully it's one of them that you only do once a year. Sweep this out of the way. Back in there with the dry stuff. Right, what are we on with next? So we've got some lettuces, some more cauliflower and cabbage. We'll do the cauliflower next. So I've only got 20 Clapton. So I'll sow a load more of these. These are Tirza. T-I-R-Z-A. I grew them last year. I think they were okay. Right, I did a few in the garden. So we can only try. You know, and they'll be grown in the same bed as the Clapton, so it'll be a good little comparison, to be honest. They come out in a bit of a hurry then. You see, I mean, it's like the Broccolli was, you know, the Aquiles was a packet that was open last year, and they were quite poor germination, to be honest. It's like me onions, my Santero. I think they're only just averaging 60 to 70% germination on the Santero. The Red Spark, you know, probably 90%. But the Santero were taken from 2 packets, you see. So I must make a point, if I'm doing that again, to label which pack they're from, because that way you can tell then, you know. Cause really, I mean, it's not you that's at fault in that aspect if you get some that don't fire, because you've sown them all exactly the same way, same time, same compost. So, you know, there is such a thing as bad seed. I'm not saying, you know, it's bad. I wouldn't say any seeds are bad. You know, because you can't tell when you harvest seed what it's going to be like. Right, so that's the cauliflower. I've got a label for it somewhere. There it is. And then we have another one which is for stuff for cane, which is called Champion cabbage. It's a collard. You know, so it's a bit tougher. It's supposed to be like a bit of a superfood. I do prefer collards to kale. There's just something about kale. I don't know what it is. I'm just not a fan. I do grow it from time to time. The dark stuff I don't mind. I don't need many of these because you can actually just harvest these as, you know, take the leaves off and just keep them growing. They grow quite well in shade as well, to be honest. So if you just want like a regular picking of greens, collards are the way to go. You know, the Durham earlies do. You know, you can sort of kind of treat them as a cut and come again for a little while. But yeah, it was. I set up to do this outside before, but all of a sudden clouds came over. I thought I better try and shift in here, which is a bit of a challenge in itself, to be honest. Like an obstacle course. Water. I've had these seeds for probably 3 years, to be honest. Like I say, they're all extra sort of things. Right, so how many of these trays have I got left now? To what I've got left to sow. Right, I'll have to do another share strip. Because I don't really do that many iceberg, I'll split the iceberg with the remain. So these are, you know, that were sent to me. So I'm not sure of the variety. This is, you know, iceberg lettuce. But slightly broadcast these at one end. You know, and I'll prick them out probably in a couple of weeks. As soon as you get, you know, 1/2 inch to 1 inch high, I'll get pricked out then. These are Frankie seeds, just remain. I used to grow one called Paris Island, which was good. Because there's some out there that, you know, that just don't seem dense enough. I mean, Little Gems are okay, but they do like to sort of go to seed quite a bit, Little Gems. Do quite a few of these. Like I say, when you've got a tortoise-like cane, I think nothing is throwing like a couple of lettuce at me a day. So if I can do that for 6 or 7 months of the year, it saves me a fortune. Now with lettuce, try and avoid going too mad. Don't really need that much, you know, to cover. So they're not getting filled right to the top then. And because it's wet underneath, I'm not going to water the top either. You know, I'm quite happy that there's enough moisture. And it's going to be sat in a tray with other tubs of moisture, so, you know, the relative humidity through the, you know, the propagator will be the same. We've got iceberg and remain. I've got remain up this end and iceberg up this end. That's that one done. One more. Got bread salad bowl and mesure. For those who saw me sort of growing me salad stuff last year and picking it on a regular basis and spinning it around in a net, the main ones were Grenoble red, mesure and red salad bowl. Red salad bowl, you can't seem to pick it as for as long as Mesure and Grenoble Red, but it's quite quick to grow. You know, and I've got Rocket that's already done. So I can generally get away with maybe 2 to 3 sowings of lettuce per year, and each sort of sowing will give you, you know, probably about 6 weeks picking. But it's, you know, it's weather permitting, obviously. Looking at these going out in the ground, you know, in 4 or 5 weeks. Might need a bit of protection. And there's the Mesure. Mesure's pretty tough and hardy. If you can get them to come out the back. All stuck in one end. That's a Mesure. So you could use just plain vermiculite on top of that, be fine. Same again, I'm not going to water that unless if it starts to look really dry on top. I'll not bother. It'll just help them little seedlings to pop through. You know, I'm not pressing this down hard at all. Right, last 2 labels. I've got Mesure up that end, and red salad ball. So, you know, there's quite a lot of seed sown there. So I think that's it for the sowing. So we're going to get on with some potatoes now and get them done, and then, like I say, in the next video there'll be a general look around everything else, and probably a look at all the different composts that B&Q have supplied. I say all this is sown in the Verve's multi-purpose peat-free. Just with plain vermiculite. Vermiculite you get on, you know, B&Q do it, or I'm using the fine grade, which is like 1 to 3 mil. You can use medium if you want. Like I say, it's not essential at all. It just allows a little bit of airflow into the roots and helps with drainage. You know, it does hold a little bit of water, you know, because seeds will grow in just vermiculite, to be honest. Don't know how long, so not really any nutrition in it as such. Right, we'll get on with them potatoes. But the sun's going now, so I'll put them coat on because it'll be a bit cold out there. Right, I've got 3 tubs here, one 30 litre and 2 12 litres. Because I've only got 6 seed potatoes. These are some sort of last bits of Swift, I think they're Swift, from last year. They're tough and green, little chits on them, so we'll bung them in, see how they get on. Compost I'm using is this one, which is the Good Home from B&Q, and it's the enriched compost, so I'm not going to put any bloodfish and bone in it, which is what I would usually do. Wouldn't do any harm to put some in, but we'll think, well, it's supposed to have food in it, so we'll see just how much. And if you get a crop, then that's a bonus. Because these have got quite big holes in the bottom of them, what I have got is the stuff that didn't go through the sieve, it's a bit twiggy, that stuff. Just a plain multi-purpose. Just going to scatter that over the bottom just to block some of the holes up at the bottom. So the finer compost doesn't start dropping out everywhere. Only much, only ½ inch or something like that. Rub around. So, and then probably fill him, you know, a good third of the way up with some of this. It was quite wet in the bag because of the amount of rain we've had lately. It has been covered over, but a bit of rain's found its way in, so I'm hoping that they don't rot off. We'll just see how it gets on. Shake them out. You know, any compost you got left over, bag up, because this will sink. I'm not going to water it, like I say, because it's quite wet and I don't want to pack it down too hard, because it might encourage the rotting. So I'm going to put 4 in this tub and just 1 in each of them. So chits pointing upwards, using handles to give you a rough marker where your first ones are going. Nestle 2 in. So they're probably, you know, a couple of inches off the bottom. That's 2 that way. And then get these other 2. I'm not picking any chits off, I'm going to leave them full. This is quite a few. I'm not bothered about having small potatoes. You know, nice to mix with early salads, because these are probably ready in about 10-12 weeks. Simply cover them with some compost. You can fill them right to the top, or wait for them to start the sprouts coming up. You just keep topping it up. So I'm not going to fill everything to the actual brim. Like I say, it's going to sink. I can top it up, and there should be just enough compost to do it. So it's a 50 litre bag. I don't know how much it is, but any compost I've used in this video, I'll put a link in the description to the 2, so you can go and have a look for yourself what's in it. Both peat free, as most things are going that way these days. It is a good idea if you've got your compost to dip it out of the bag and break it up a bit, you know, so you haven't got any big clumps in there. Right, so I put the first 2 with the handles where, so these next 2 are going to go the opposite way, probably, and sit around the halfway mark of the tub. Because the idea is the bottom potatoes will, because they're in early, they tend to not grow in the mounds, they tend to just sort of sit at that level. So it's not like if you fill it to the top, you'll waste a lot of compost. You know, so you put the upper level in there to fill that top part. So you're going to put bloodfish and bone meal in, or grow more, any sort of slow release, sort of balanced feed. That's fine. Just mix it in that bottom bit, and mix it round, and just pop your spuds in and put some normal stuff on top. So I've got a tiny bit of compost left. All I'll do is I'll top them up when that settles, and that's it. It's as easy as that. And all you do now is just keep them protected from frost. So when the tops come up, you're going to have to fleece them. Put a bit of straw on here, which will stop them from drying out, because, you know, obviously you can get, these are going to go in the polytunnel. I won't do them outside yet. I'll wait a few more weeks for that, because it'll take roughly, you know, anywhere between 3 and 5 weeks to come out from these, depending on how warm. And black pots, so these will be in the polytunnel. They'll warm up, but they'll also give heat out as well at night. So the more you can cram in your polytunnel at the moment, tubs and bags of compost, it all gives heat. It takes heat in and gives heat back out. Right, well, that's it for this video. Another long one. Sorry if you're not keen on the long ones. It's just trying to get everything in one video, and then if you're thinking about growing the same as what you see in this video, it just gives you an idea. But, you know, there is no right or wrong way. You can watch many YouTubers. We all do things slightly differently sometimes, and they all work. So just try different things, and what works best for you, stick with that. You know, and all we can do is what works for us in our individual sort of growing zone. You know, me, I'm in sort of like the northwest of England. So it just usually rains all the time. No, you get a good summer sometimes. Sometimes you don't. That's part that we have no control over on your growing year. You can do everything the right way, but inevitably it's down to the season and the temperature, amount of rain, which then also indicates what sort of beneficial bugs, and also the nasty bugs that can cause damage to your crops. That we have no real control over. What the weather's going to bring. We just have to work with it. And but you always get something. It's never a total failure. So never give up. Keep trying. So thanks for watching. Take care until next time, which will be a bit more sowing and looking at seedlings. Probably peas in the gutters next, I think, which will be last of the sort of semi-frost hardy things. And then you sort of wait then until you get into April for your frost tender. So take care, and I'll see you next time. See you now. Bye-bye.